is a story about people, aged people. Aged people at home, a home in which they can relax and reminisce, or doze off in dreamless sleep, sleep that so readily overtakes the aged, on the porch, in the doctor's waiting room, in front of television, or mother a teeming flower bed, symbol of life ever renewing itself. Or to indulge in the gentle rhythm of light exercise. Some prefer to bask in the warmth of the sun, enjoying a smoke, a bit of gossip, a fragment of ancient wisdom, or a touch of friendly humor. The afternoon goes quickly when conversation flows freely and conviviality prevails among good companions. Then there is eating. And walking. The infirmities of age do not daunt those in whom the inner grip on life is strong. Two grandfathers, both from the old school, just checking. Maybe it's time for supper already. And so it came to pass that they became known as the people of the book. And it was good, for the book contained the law, and it was as a light to all the peoples of the earth, even those whose eyes were dim and could not see. And best of all, a visit from a son. Behold the light of that smile. It makes the struggles of a lifetime worthwhile. The seed of his loins bears fruit. This is a story about people, specialized people who do a very special job. This is the director. In him is crystallized the purpose of the home, to care for the aged, to make them feel wanted and useful, and to provide them with meaningful goals for living. In this humane enterprise, he is supported by the community, represented by the board of directors. Through the prestige of its many influential members, the board validates the operation of the home to the community. Here too are people. People who participate directly in home activities in many ways. By setting basic policy as to the extent of nursing care and admittance of the sick, by observing the operation of the home through personal visits, by raising funds and approving budgets. And there is discussion. And recommendations. And resolutions. And motions. and seconds, and discussions, 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 long evenings of discussions. The staff, each one a specialist, working together as a team. Their major concern, the problems of the residents. One meeting, for example, may be devoted solely to the introduction of one new resident into the home. But nothing is more crucial for the entrant than this initial contact. Not only is the aged person apprehensive about the unknown experience awaiting him, but may have the mistaken impression that entrance into a home represents failure in life and rejection by family. To better cope with this possibility, the staff carefully reviews the background, habits, and personality of the new resident. And this information is of particular interest to the Director of Social Service, whose specific responsibility it is to ease the adjustment of the new resident. What are her problems? She's shy. She has many fears. Will I get along? Will the staff like me? Will my room partner like me? Will they get along? This is definitely a cold reception. It's not good. He senses anxiety on the part of the new resident, an anxiety that can easily become panic. He must quickly establish some common ground. But how? What could they have in common? Perhaps the flower pot. It's a favorite interest of the old resident. It's worth a try. They're talking. They're laughing. A good time to back away and out. Perhaps the beginning of understanding. The doctor is here. The medical director holds clinic 4 times a week and is on call for emergencies. He is responsible for diagnosing accurately the condition of each resident, prescribing treatment, and seeing to it that his orders are executed properly by the staff of nurses. In the interest of good preventive medicine, the goal has been established for each resident of at least once a year a thorough examination, including X-ray of the chest and electrocardiograph and routine laboratory tests. Actually, it is the rare resident who is not examined many times during the year by the medical director. Those residents less able to perform the ordinary activities of daily living are housed in a building containing an infirmary equipped with nurses' stations, a stock of the latest medications, and the most modern, elaborate apparatus. Residents receive oxygen therapy when advisable. An excellent working relationship exists with Mount Sinai Hospital, whose facilities are coordinated with those of the homes in serving the chronic sick aged. Residents are referred to Mount Sinai when its more extensive and specialized facilities are required to establish a diagnosis, or for treatment by its outpatient clinic specialists, or for operations. In turn, the home admits those patients directly from Mount Sinai who require a protective setting on a permanent basis. Indeed, the home recognizes the care of the chronic sick aged as being its primary reason for existence in the community. By the time the medical director leaves for the day, he not only has examined throats and measured blood pressure, but he has also been the open ear to all the little complaints so important to the aged. The heartburn, the ache in the small of the back, the gas pains. These he takes away from them, and already his next visit is eagerly awaited. And the people are sustained by food, nourishing food, appetizing food, dietetic food. From the time of a person's earliest associations, food is intimately connected with the ideas of self-sufficiency and love. Some of the women delight in helping out in the kitchen because it reminds them of the time when they cooked for themselves in their own households. In addition, it's a boost to anyone's morale to be served good food in a lovely dining room setting by smartly uniformed, courteous waitresses. So it's little wonder that the kitchen and dining room are among the more popular spots in the home. The maintenance of order and cleanliness in the kitchen and dining room is one of the many responsibilities of the executive housekeeper, and as with all her functions, it is superbly executed. Some of the men were so well housebroken in earlier days that they still return the dishes to the kitchen out of habit and appreciation. Those residents who are physically incapable of eating in the dining room are served in their rooms. The dietitian is responsible for the planning and preparation of the food, and not only does she understand its chemical composition, but she also appreciates its emotional significance to the residents. She interviews them to determine their likes and dislikes and maintains a card file on each individual. Why didn't you eat last night, you naughty girl? I just couldn't eat. The food had no taste. Well, you'll have to eat, even without salt, for your own good. Yes, for those who require special diets, every attempt is made to preserve the enjoyment value. But this is not always possible. For the dietitian, there remains then the everlasting problem of sugar and salt. In the battle against the erosion of time, there are many techniques provided by the occupational therapist under the direction of the medical director. But only one person can supply the will to continuously push this monotonous shoulder wheel. That is the patient herself. Through the combination of will and wheel, an amazing record of rehabilitation has been achieved over the years. Arts and crafts is a common medicine through which the resident is induced to exercise an affected limb. In the process, there is awakened a latent enjoyment of creating and being on one's own, to such a point that the resident actually craves the experience of exercising his muscles. Among the varied activities engaged in are ceramics, woodwork, weaving, sewing, and knitting. The sheltered workshop is also under the supervision of the occupational therapist. Through contracts obtained from business firms, the residents are given simple forms of work for which they are paid. While such work may also be of value from a medical therapeutic standpoint, its primary worth lies in the sense it gives of being productive again. In addition to the care of the kitchen and dining room, the housekeeper has a myriad of other responsibilities, including the laundry, the personal clothing of the residents, and the maintenance of clean, tastefully furnished surroundings. Under her capable supervision, the housekeeping staff not only provides a neat-looking home and immaculate grooming for the residents, so uplifting to morale, but also exhibits a courteous, respectful personal concern for the welfare of the aged residents, which help them feel that they are among friends. Training of nurses and aides in hospital care of the aged is a basic program carried on under the supervision of the Director of Nurses. A special instructor, supplied by the Red Cross, uses one of the aides as a practice model in explaining hospital care technique. Working in 3 shifts, nurses and aides give round-the-clock service to the residents. In addition to administering medication and dressings, they assist the very feeble patients in the activities of daily living which they no longer can carry on without help. Rehabilitation, however, always is the primary aim, for one of the greatest thrills an old person can have is to regain the capacity to care once more for himself. A chiropodist is in attendance weekly to ensure that the residents receive good foot care. This is of utmost importance because in the aged, the feet are a common source of infection. Circulation in the extremities is frequently poor, and medical surveillance is necessary for the prevention of gangrene. Then, too, what can make a person of any age more miserable than a sore toe, an ingrown nail, or a bruised heel? So it's with much anticipation that the resident awaits his turn to take off his shoes and socks and climb on the chiropodist chair. A few deft snips, a little lotion, and the feet feel soothed and comfortable. It's a pleasure. Bingo! A simple game of chance, but what concentration as the board fills up. The game is well advanced, and almost everyone needs just one more number. The word bingo is on the tips of their tongues, ready for the shouting. This is fun, engrossing fun, and the evening goes too quickly. Entertainment like this is one of the many services provided by the Women's Volunteer Organization, the Ladies Auxiliary, Women's Aid, and Service League. Afternoon tea, brought to the room. Served as they like it, in a glass, and with a smile. Sugar or saccharin, 1 lump or 2. It's hot, stimulating, a good custom afternoon tea, another volunteer activity. What can lift the spirits of a woman more than a visit to the beauty parlor? Here in the beauty parlor, the women who volunteer extend tender, loving care in a direct, personal way that is heartwarming both to the resident and the volunteer. In the beauty parlor, the women let their hair down literally. Inexperienced at first, the amateur operators become amazingly adept in a short time. The residents gossip, they gripe, they get news of the doings in town, who got married, who had a baby. For the women, this is one of the favorite rooms in the home. Twist of the hair, a curler, a spray. These are the little things from which stem a feeling of belonging and being wanted and personal pride. A visit to the beauty parlor, a simple routine event. Care for the hands and the hair and the face, but so deeply meaningful here at the home. In this story about people, none give of themselves more willingly than the volunteers. And the beauty shop is just the starting point for exciting events the volunteers have arranged. Parties in the spring, picnics in the summer, concerts, and movies in the fall and winter. A children's choir sings religious melodies in high-pitched voices. The familiar chants awaken nostalgic feelings, the more so because the aged have an especial kinship for the very young. They are the fruit of their endeavors, the carriers of the tradition. In the children lies their true immortality. Sing, children, sing. Fill the room with your voices and our hearts with your laughter. Thank you. Thank you very much. It was beautiful. Bring the children again soon for another party. The Arts and Crafts Workshop, the Service League in attendance. Here the glitter of rhinestones and sequins holds sway. It's painstaking work. The needle points are fine. The pieces are tiny. Good exercise, though, for the eyes, the hands, the mind. The reward, decorative trinkets to sell and to give. But more, much more, worthwhile incentives for working, for living. For those who work with the aged, both the specialized people and the volunteer people, the objective ever is to help them experience the thrill of self-expression. One one of the finest medicines for self-expression is the Residence Club. Here they work together toward common goals, such as planning an outing or a party. As an expression of appreciation, for example, they invited the Mount Sinai Hospital staff to a party, baked for them, and entertained them. Through such undertakings, they form bonds with each other, get a feeling of belonging together. At their meetings, they may develop ideas as to how the home may be improved, and the director of the home frequently attends these meetings and gives serious consideration to the recommendations made. The director of social service, as the staff representative at the meetings, encourages the shy to speak up, and the over-aggressive individual learns in time to conform to the will of the majority. The Residence Club, democracy in action. Running off copies of the monthly newspaper, written, edited, and published by the residents themselves. Everyone likes to see his name in print, and every resident does, sooner or later. More, his or her ideas are expressed. Wonderful ventilation for the soul. But a newspaper is for news, and news there is in abundance. A grandchild's bar mitzvah, a wedding perhaps, a special visit from out-of-town relatives, a trip, an evening at a concert, all the events of the most active society section. Also, a history of one's life, an expression of gratitude to the staff, or a literary contribution. The editor is the heart of the publication, and she works hard to meet a deadline and to produce a rounded, meaty issue. The newspaper is a success. Circulation is growing. The congregation worships in the beautiful synagogue, core of the religious life at the home. The aged particularly are aware that spiritual values are truly the everlasting values in life. Study of God's Word provides new insights, fresh facets of the universal laws which guide man, earth, space, and stars on their infinite path. It is comforting to sense the pattern of one's ways. It brings a sense of fulfillment, a deep peace of mind and soul. And now it is late, and it is time for sleep. Even the inanimate things are put to rest. The crutches lean quietly against the wall. The walker also rests. Time now for the last medicines. Going where people go before they go to sleep. And other things too are put to rest. The day's notations in the records. Soon all will be quiet, for it's been a long day and the limbs are weary. Sleep beckons, but like children, like all the helpless, some need attention as a reassurance that all is well. Night action begins. Persistent clamor expressing a need, calling for comfort, comfort. And comfort is there in the person of the nurses, and they respond quickly, patiently, for they understand. They know the need. A last flurry of activity begins. Nurse, 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 nurse. An aspirin, please. Don't forget my sedative. A little massage. Please, an alcohol rub. A pillow to prop. A bed to raise. Nurse, 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 nurse. A window to close. A window to open. A glass of water. A book. A glance. A smile. A quick good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. And through it all, some find sleep, soon to be joined by the others, for they are being comforted, and confident that tomorrow's needs will also be cared for with tenderness and with love. from people in the home and in the community who know that they are important and show it. Now the head nurse, weary as she is, finds one more who needs her, needs comfort. And she gives it, for it is easy to give, yet difficult too, for it must be given out of the depths of one's heart in order to comfort thee. And this is our story about people. Scriptwriter, narrator, music supervisor, technical consultant, production assistant, and designed and filmed by Jerry A. Callner for the Milwaukee Jewish Home for the Aged.